Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today I would like to talk about my experience with the OneWheel electric skateboard. I purchased one a few weeks back, and this video will give you guys a little bit of a look at me right after I got the skateboard and while I was learning to ride it. And then unfortunately I had a wreck, which I'll go over, and ultimately the reason why I had to get rid of it. So I'll go over all those facts with you guys, and you can watch that. Just to give you a little bit of a background about myself, I'm 46 years old, and I would consider myself mediumly coordinated. I'm not overly coordinated by any stretch of the imagination. I did grow up playing high school sports, basketball and track and whatnot. I do currently ride road bikes about 1,000 to 2,000 miles a year and do some jogging and things. So I'm not a total couch potato. I have a limited experience with board sports. I owned a boat for a few years and did some wakeboarding. Always wanted to try snowboarding, never have done it. I've attempted to do a decent bit of surfing, but I've never been really good at it. It's something I've struggled with and tried, mainly just because I didn't have the upper body strength to catch the waves very good. The board riding part was, I could actually do okay if I could ever catch a wave. So I have some limited board riding experience. I'll say this thing was a blast, so I did have a whole lot of fun with it. So without further ado, we'll get to the other parts of the video where I start riding it. Oh, please do me a big favor and like and subscribe. Thank you. All right, I just got the board out of the box and have plugged it in to charge. It came with a 33% charge, and I have no idea how long it had been in the box. So I've left it for probably about 20 minutes now. Went out for some lunch, came back, and it has a 66% charge, so it's doing pretty well in its initial charge. Overall impression, the build quality looks really well done on it. It looks better than I thought it would. It appears to be really high quality. So overall I'm impressed. Sorry that I missed the unboxing for you. There really wasn't much on that. I'll just show you the box it came in. Not real significant on that. It just had a piece of cardboard on top of it. It had these papers with it. Looks like a book, and it looks like a stack of cards, interestingly enough, I guess, to give out. There's several of those, you can see. So I guess you're gonna get some people asking you about it. It came with these two stickers on it. It tells you a little bit about it, and that's really all it was. It had, so of course, some padding and that charger. So the first thing I wanted to do is get it charging. So we'll go out and ride it here in a little bit. All right, next up, I was lucky enough that my dealer had a carbon fiber fender, which is exactly what I was wanting. I didn't really want to ride it without a fender. It looks like that could possibly be dangerous to me if you get a pant leg or something caught down in there. The other thing is it's going to flip up sticks and water or anything like that and get you dirty. So I didn't want that, so I'm going to go ahead and install that. I would video that, but it looks like it's going to be pretty simple. It looks like it's going to be just a couple screws, maybe 4 screws on that. There's 1, 2, basically 1 at each corner, and I think they're going to install one of these 2 screws. So like I said, I would video that, but I think that's going to be relatively unremarkable. I'll show a shot here when I get it done. Okay. It did come with some longer screws, and I did remove this screw right here, so it is going to be those 4 screws that put the fender on. And they did include an Allen wrench, was nice, and this is the flat-headed screw that it came with, and then I'll be putting, I guess, bolt technically, and it came with these little longer rounded top bolts that I'll be putting on. And they gave me another card. I guess they really want you to give those out, which I'll probably carry a couple on me. It'll be easier to explain. So I'll get to putting that on. All right, I did decide that I will use a little bit of blue Loctite thread locker on these threads. I noticed that the ones that came with it, they were a little hard to get out. Not bad, hard at all, but I could tell they had something on them. They had a little bit of thread locker. The blue is the removable one. And then I'll end up keeping this little package. I decided I'm going to keep the card, and the screws or bolts that I took out, and the little tool all together because I have quite a bit of parts that I've accumulated over the years, and occasionally that gets hard to remember what they're from. So a little card will come in handy for that. All right, there it is. This is the carbon fender installed. A couple things to note. I would only put thread locker, I use the blue Loctite here. I would only put it on about the bottom quarter of the little bolt because that's about all that's going to engage with the metal. I put a little bit too much on the first one. Other thing to note is that this stuff is carbon fiber, and while carbon fiber is extremely tough and durable, sometimes it can be a little bit brittle. So I know from working on road bikes that you don't really want to wrench stuff down as tight as maybe you normally would because you can break it. So I was just started all 4 of the screws first before I tightened them down, and then I made sure that I only went this way with the wrench. What I didn't do is I didn't put the wrench on this way where I got a lot more leverage on it. I did not tighten it down with that. I just kind of went just low, medium, tight this way because less is more on this. You do not want to crack that carbon. That would be an expensive mistake. So that would be a tip for you if you're not familiar with working on carbon. I couldn't stress that enough. Do not over tighten that. All right, another thing to note is that I've heard some people say that if you unplug the plug from the board with it on, it will spark right there, and a lot of people don't like that. So they recommend keeping it plugged in here and then plugging it into the wall to charge it, or unplugging it here first like I'm about to do. I did see a little spark earlier when I plugged it in, so I can see why. And we are now 100% charged, and I'm 200% stoked. I've got some motorcycle riding gloves that I'm going to use for a little bit of protection. I'll get some better protection here at some point probably, but we'll start off with those. And I've got a bike helmet that I'll use. So let's take it outside now and see how it goes. All right, here's the first attempt for me to ride this thing. So it's probably going to be pretty bad, so be prepared to laugh. Whoa. All right, strike one. Leaned a little too far forward. When I say forward, I mean this way, not really forward. A little too far back. There we go. Okay, so that's the second attempt. It's the first, you saw the first attempt, second attempt ever on it. Just to give you an idea, it's a little unstable. It's supposed to lean a little forward to go. Yeah, that worked. A little bit backwards to stop. Can I go backwards? Yep, I can. So there we go. Feel a little wobbly, but it's doable. So can I turn? Yeah, I can turn. Whoa! All right. There we go. All right. Well, hey. So there you go. That was a pretty good one for you guys. Oh, hurt the knees a little bit. Didn't dismount gracefully. In fact, that was about anything but graceful. But hey, I'll take it. Let's try it again. I'm gonna leave a little bit more of my toes hanging off. I didn't have any toes hanging off before. I'm gonna go more of the ball of my foot on the edge there. There we go. You can hear a little noise. It feels like the motor must be kicking on a little bit. Try to turn. Okay, that was a little too far forward. I don't even know what board shaping profile I'm in. Excuse me. I'm assuming that it probably comes in the beginner mode, and that was probably really silly of me not to check. So I think I'm going to stop the video now and check that. Alright, so you saw the first couple attempts. I've been riding it now for maybe 5 minutes or less, so we're going to just show you what 5 minutes on the board looks like. Maybe less. Probably still not going to look great, but I can do a little bit. So I'm going to just take a little ride here. There we go. Normally it starts out a little better than that. Okay. the other way. Turn. It's definitely a little bit easier to do when you're at speed. It's like riding a bike. If you try to do it really slow, it's a little harder. Part I have trouble with is the dismount. I'm supposed to be able to pick a heel up, but that's a little bit hard for me to do. Oh, about picked something up, didn't I? I'll try the heel. There you go. All right, that's just after a few minutes. All right, I just got back from that first ride. Actually, it was the second ride. You saw that kind of first ride that I showed in that last video clip where I started off really poorly. Of course, when you're trying to show somebody something, that's kind of the way it goes. I just rode it 3 miles, and it seems like it got a lot easier. I'd heard that once you get to riding these things some, that really you can just sort of think about it, and the board starts to do what you want it to. One guy said he thought it could read your mind, and it started to feel more like that. So it starts to feel more like an extension of your body. I haven't skateboarded in years. I haven't been on anything other than a surfboard last year that was in that stance or anything in a long time. So one of the things I could definitely feel was my core muscles were getting a really good workout. Just got back from a 3 mile ride on that, and that was about all I wanted as far as a core workout. Of course, you know, I was a little bit wobbly towards the end of that 3 miles. I definitely got where I could turn a lot better. Whenever I'm leaning frontwards to the side of the board, it would be to my right side of the board. I can carve that way a lot better, and I'm a little more hesitant to carve where I'm leaning backwards. I would say you could think about the ball of your feet. For me, that's going to make me do a right turn on the front balls of my feet, and then my heels would make me do a left turn. So if I do the front ball of my foot, that makes me go forward and right. If I do the back ball of my left foot, that makes me want to go to the left, and then kind of both evenly. I'm not sure what that would do actually, but anyway, you can think about those 4 points of the board. Those 4 points, the ball and heel of each foot, and those are kind of the things you want to press to make it go those directions or turn those directions. And that was helpful. I read a lot of online tips about this before I got started, so those were just some kind of my first impressions after my first 3 mile ride with it. Definitely a lot better after 3 miles than what you saw. All right, so this is about the 4th time I've ridden it today. I've ridden 2 trips for 3 miles. It's still the first day I ever had it, so I've got about 6 miles in. So just to give you kind of an idea of what it looks like after 6 miles, I'll take another little ride here. So you can tell a lot more control, and it's quite a bit easier. It's hard to stand still actually, for me at least. So you can see a little bit of improvement after 6 miles. All right, we'll try a little video here while I'm riding and see how this goes. Probably not a great idea, but here goes. Nice thing is there's no remote, and you do have your hands free with this thing. Turning backwards is my hard side here. I'm not very good at this turn yet. Sorry if there's a lot of wind noise in the mic. So there you go. There's a little demo, and it's super hard for me to stand still. Well, I should have stopped while I was ahead. That was my second long ride in the first day, and my core muscles were getting really weak, and I pushed the envelope like I often do, and this time it cost me. I went on a third long ride that same day, and I think I had just totally weakened my core muscles. I had nothing left because, you know, normally you don't do anything that involves that much core muscle strength, and I had been on 3 pretty long rides that day, and at the end of that third one, I think I flinched a little bit with my front left leg and dug the front of that one wheel into the pavement. I ended up rolling over my left shoulder really bad. Thank God I had a helmet and gloves on. It was a pretty bad wreck. That ended my one wheel career right there. I'm going to show you some photos. You'll see the hip was the worst part. That's the first photo I'm going to show you here. And the first photo of the hip doesn't look very bad. This is my left hip because I was riding left hip forward and it slammed into the ground. I'll show a second photo here where I took a photo of the next day. As you can see, it's quite a bit worse where the bruisings occurred. And then even worse again, 6 or 8 hours later, that second day in the evening, you can see how much worse the bruising is. Now I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like 2 weeks later. So it did heal finally. I'm very thankful I don't have any real residual injuries from that wreck. We're now in October of 2020, so it's taken me this long to even really want to talk about it. I got hurt so bad. Thank God I didn't have to go to the hospital or surgery or anything like that. It easily could have. I also messed this shoulder up because I slammed that front shoulder into the ground really hard. I was going probably 12 or 13 miles an hour when I bit that front end of the one wheel into it. Probably going too fast, honestly. I got maybe a little bit overconfident. But the thing that scared me to death is that I don't remember flinching or anything like that. That's just a theory. So that's actually why I got rid of it, because I was riding along the street just perfectly normal, straight line, not carving, not doing anything, and that front bit into the pavement. And that, like I said, I have a theory that it was probably my core strength that gave out. And so I'm not really going to fault the one wheel, but then again, I don't know. Who knows? Probably was me. I'm going to admit that, but I just can't trust me or the one wheel, whatever. I can't trust that scenario. It's probably me, so I had to get rid of it. So how much did that whole experience cost me? It cost me about $375. I'll show you a spreadsheet of my cost. I sold it on eBay, and of course I had some costs for selling it and whatnot, and then how much I paid for the one wheel. So basically, $375 for a one-day experience, but hey, I'm just really glad that I didn't have any permanent injuries. I did have a lot of fun on it that day. I rode it probably 4, 5, 6 hours. Maybe not quite that long, but quite a while. So it was still quite fun. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope that my experience on the one wheel would just tell you a little bit about it. If you're a similar age to me, maybe thinking about getting it. I was 46 at the time that I had the wreck. I'm 47 now, so if you're similar age, similar background to me, it might help you if you were wondering about one. I still think it's an awesome piece of equipment, and I'm sure a lot of people have fun on it, but just not for me. And by all means, wear a helmet if you're going to get one. Hey, and if you would do me a big favor, if you could like this video and subscribe. I'm really trying to get to the 1,000 subscriber mark, and that would help out a bunch. Thank you so much.